Every aspect of my life changed when I started carnivore diet. I weighed 152. Even this morning, I weighed 122.2. If you want to be successful with carnivore, you have to... I had a really bad hip pain, and I had the MRI, and they basically told me it was just aging and your bones and everything. Even if I was on my good side, it would still hurt. I was getting prednisone shots, and it just totally went away.
That's the amazing thing about carnivore, and that's why I wanted you to share your results, because carnivore is so powerful to actually transform your life. Yes, carnivore can be restrictive for some, but you can make it work for you. And that's why now we're going to go into these rules that Lisa breaks on the carnivore diet, and it works for her and it might work for you as well. So Lisa, what is rule number 1 that you break on the carnivore diet?
I don't do this very often, but every once in a while I will eat.
Just a quick one, Dr. Anthony Chafee and Professor Bart Kay is joining us for the September Carnivore Challenge. Now, if you're new to carnivore, maybe you might have questions about how much protein, how much fat you should be eating, as well as troubleshooting on this carnivore lifestyle. Well, you can ask all of your questions to these wonderful doctors, as well as learn from our carnivore coaches that have been doing this lifestyle for over 10 years. So if you'd like to join the September Carnivore Challenge, there is a link in the description with 20% off just for you. Hey Lisa, welcome back.
Hey, thank you for having me back.
Well, the one thing I love about you, Lisa, is that you break some of these rules that people have on the carnivore diet, because nobody would dare to break some of these rules that you definitely do break every day, but you see such amazing results. So today, Lisa and I are going to talk about these 10 rules that maybe you can break. Plus, we're also going to play a bit of a game in the middle. But before we get to the first rule, Lisa, can you share with all of us watching right now your carnivore results and what you've achieved by being a carnivore for about 3 years?
Okay, so May was 3 years that I've been on carnivore. And when I started, I weighed 152. And now, even this morning, I weigh every morning, I weighed 122.2, I believe. And so I actually had gotten even lower than that. I actually had gotten to like 118. And I think that that's part of your body just kind of regulating. And then I've been at 121 or 122 for probably a couple years now. So I've kept that weight off, and I feel like every single part of my life has improved since I've been on the carnivore diet. From my relationships, from my self-improvement, sleep, health. I'm no longer on iron supplements. I no longer have to take naps. So it's increased my productivity, my outlook on life. Just every aspect of my life changed, including my menopause symptoms, everything, when I started carnivore diet, and it did not take long. The improvements actually started within, I would say at the longest, 2 weeks. My mental state, because I had been dealing with my gut issues for so long, I didn't realize how bad it was affecting my mood and just how my outlook on the future. So as soon as I started feeling that little bit better, like the bloating was going away, I wasn't as tired, all of those things, it really felt like a cloud had lifted off, and I became so enthusiastic. And I've gone back into some of my videos, and I just love watching them, because I just remember, like in one video I just watched, I said, I've lost 12 pounds and I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it. I'm just so excited. So even after 12 pounds, I feel it. I remember how I felt that day. I can look back at photos where I had only lost, 10 or 12 pounds, and I can remember feeling so good. And in this, industry that I'm in, that's a big part of it. When you're in fashion and you are taking pictures of yourself at an unhealthy rate to feel good in your skin, to feel good in your clothes is monumental. And I never even realized how bad I felt until I felt so good. So that's a long answer to just the miracle that it is. And honestly, in the beginning, I was thinking, this can't be real. This can't be possible, because I had never really experienced a diet, even when I was on keto, even when I was on Atkins, where I was so satisfied. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't constantly guessing what I was going to eat the next meal. To me, this is even more fulfilling than those, because it, decision fatigue and the guilt and the stress of guessing, are you going to cheat? Are you going to eat the apple? I know it's just all those things. So it just completely took all the guesswork away, all of the guilt, and it helped me look forward to the future, because I knew I wasn't going to feel sick. I knew I wasn't going to feel bloated. I knew I was not going to feel sleepy and be at a conference and have to excuse myself to go take a nap. Things like that. I could go on and on.
I know that you could go on, but that's the amazing thing about carnivore. And that's why I wanted you to share your results, because carnivore is so powerful to actually transform your life. You transformed your life to where you were, over 3 years ago to where you are today. And you're not super strict. And that's why I wanted to do this interview with Lisa, so that everybody watching can understand that, yes, carnivore can be restrictive for some, but you can make it work for you. And that's why now we're going to go into these rules that Lisa breaks on the carnivore diet, and it works for her and it might work for you as well. So Lisa, what is rule number 1 that you break on the carnivore diet?
So the first rule that I break is I drink Diet Coke. I just opened this one before this interview. And I never want to put it out there that I think Diet Coke is healthy. I do have my feelings about it, but it just depends. I am not a coffee drinker, but if I was, I would try to probably find a way that I could still drink coffee, because I think it's important that those things that you look forward to and those little treats that you have, that if you can find a way to do them, then try to find a way. It's kind of like I approach anything else I do. I try to, figure out what's holding me back, and is it possible? And if it is, I try to figure out a way. Now, I cannot drink all diet drinks. I found that out when Diet Sierra Mist replaced their drink with Starry, and they replaced the aspartame with sucralose. And I realized that I cannot tolerate sucralose. I have an IBS issue, and it really did affect that. And I didn't notice after 1 or 2, but I noticed after probably about a week of drinking them, I was thinking, what is going on? I was like going through, I'm so routine about what I eat. I was thinking, what is happening? And then as soon as I thought about it and I looked at the differences, I realized it. And then I could think back to a few other drinks that I have had before that upset my stomach, and sure enough, they had sucralose in them too. So that just shows you, I know a lot of people, and I tried when I was going through the many doctors and many reasons that I was having such bad gut issues. A lot of people would say it's diet drinks. Well, I cut them out for probably a month or more and had no relief. But it was Diet Coke that I was cutting out. So I have tried that, and that was not the ticket to me. So I've kind of proven it in a couple of different ways.
And that's the thing. If you like diet soda and it works for you, as Lisa said that she tested it, she took it out for a month and she had no difference. And it's the same thing with coffee. There's so many people that say, oh, coffee is bad. You shouldn't have coffee. Oh, it's a toxin and all these. And then some people are like, well, I've taken it out and I'm doing fine. I personally I think I've given it up for a week. I didn't have any headaches. I didn't have any side effects. I didn't feel anything different apart from the fact that I was just grumpy. I just wanted to have coffee. And you know what? If I have that addiction, I don't mind, because I'm doing carnivore so well and you're doing carnivore so well. And the thing is, these tiny little things, if they don't affect you, I think they're great and it makes the whole lifestyle very enjoyable.
I agree. I agree. And I don't really strive for perfection. I just strive for feeling good because then I can do other things better. I'm not really, that just doesn't bother me. And I didn't really realize it was such a taboo thing until years ago. I was doing a video and I was in the car. It was a car vlog. And I ordered a Diet Coke from Chick-fil-A. And I mentioned that I didn't drink alcohol. I said, this is my wine or whatever. And just the amount of hate that I got for that. People were so defensive over being able to drink alcohol, which is loaded with all of these things, and I don't drink, so I'm not judging against it. I just happen to not like to drink, but they just destroyed me on how much healthier alcohol and drinks were than diet drinks, which I don't know, and I'm not disputing that, but I don't know. I just feel like I keep an open mind. I don't judge other people. And, I always come across people that judge me for different things. And I just think they just don't understand, that, like, for instance, I went out with my family and we went to a burger place and I just got my patty and my cheese and my bacon, and it was pitiful compared to everyone else's. And then they had this big thing of fries in the middle. And then we went to the movies and everyone else is getting a bucket of popcorn, candy. And I looked up and I said, I wonder if there's anything I could get. And my daughter looks at me, she said, you're still hungry? I'm like, yeah. I wasn't really hungry, but when you're at the movies, you're just thinking, is there any treat that I can get? And it's just so funny, like me having that little burger, the same thing she had with a bun and everything else and all the fries. But just because she saw me eat a burger, it must look so much heavier or something. People assume that that's so much. And I'm thinking, it's not so much. I'm only eating what most people are eating minus those things. But when you isolate it like that, I think it kind of looks weird to people. And it looks almost barbaric or something. It's fringe.
Absolutely, I can totally understand when I'm out at a restaurant and then I just order like, chicken or beef or something, and it looks so lonesome on the plate. And you have these other people that are ordering all these different sides and they're eating so much, and you just think, oh, mine looks so little and theirs looks a lot. And I finish because I'm a fast eater. I just finish it much faster than they do. But anyway, at least we're feeding ourselves with nutrients and that we don't have to feel awful after. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think that's a big lesson if you want to be successful with carnivore is you have to decide what you feel is right. I'll get judgment from people at McDonald's for getting my 2 burgers and they're not healthy. And I'm watching everybody's order in front of me and it's like a Frosty, a large fry, 2 double cheeseburgers, but when they come to mine, that is this just the 2 burgers and the 2 cheese, they look at me like I'm the most unhealthy person on the planet. I think it's just so different. So you have to get past that and understand it, a little bit better. And I've always said if I could do keto, I do think that that's probably, that would give you more variety. But I don't believe in keto cookies and keto bars and keto this and keto that. I've seen a lot of people that they like to use the word keto, but they're not. I don't think it's healthy. It has all those sugar alcohols that really used to upset my stomach. And when I was doing those things, I didn't even care at that point. It was when I was younger. I didn't even care if it upset my stomach because I knew, oh, it's an Atkins bar. So anyway, okay, I could go on and on. You want me to go to the next one?
Yes, what is rule number 2?
Cheese. Cheese. So I don't know if this is one of those things I think is 50-50. Some people in the carnivore community do say you shouldn't eat cheese. I think the best explanation is to kind of treat it like an extra or a dessert. So in the beginning, I will admit, I ate a lot more cheese. I ate a lot of like ham and cheese or turkey and cheese roll-ups. But I think it's important in the beginning that you really experiment with different things, especially if you have gut issues or any type of issues like the Petersons, have all these other different type of issues. Kind of experiment with what you can eat And in the beginning, I think a lot of it's mental, but a lot of it is a body reset where you feel so hungry. You feel like you're missing out. You feel so hungry. So in the beginning, I don't promote intermittent fasting or being really, really strict, because you need to find your way. And I think once you're, what is it, the ghrelin and all the signals between your gut and your brain and, telling you that you're full, once that gets regulated, I think then you can perfect it like anything else. So cheese is number 2. You want me to go on to number 3?
Yes, rule number 3. What is that one?
Big one. I don't eat farm raised, grass fed beef. I typically eat, well, just about, I would say 98% of the time, I eat ribeyes, the thin ribeyes from Walmart, and they're Angus. And we cook them, which I really promote the Blackstone grill, because you can cook anything on it, like eggs, anything. So we cook on that grill. And I do eat just regular beef. I did in the beginning try bison and grass-fed this, and it wasn't good to me, and it wasn't fulfilling, and I just did not feel like, for me, it was that important. And it's not that I don't see their point, but I just prefer the ribeyes from Walmart. Or my parents cook for me on Sunday night, and a lot of times they'll get their prime ribeyes from like Costco or Whole Foods or some of those stores that they go to, Fresh Market, and they'll get the whole loin or whatever, and then they'll cut it thin for me, because I think, especially if you are sensitive to eating fat, I feel like the fat tastes better and I tolerate it better, and it just is better to me if it's thin. Whereas if you're eating a big, thick steak and you get to the fat, it's heavier, and I don't know, I just feel like in the thin ribeyes it's better. And it's still not inexpensive. They've gone up like crazy. Used to, we could get the pack of them for like 12 something, and now it's almost 20. And honestly, you can get 2 thick ones for about the same price as 2 thin ones. They charge you extra. And sometimes John will, cut them in half, but he doesn't like to. So we mainly get the thin ones. But I understand, people talking about the cost of it, but I think there's many, many ways to do it that is cost effective.
And I'm exactly the same. And that's what I love. That's why I love sharing things with you, because you're also a real carnivore. Sometimes when you hear stuff on the internet or on YouTube, you almost think that, oh, I have to do things like that person does. But you don't always have to do those things, because sometimes it's not realistic for you. Even the tip that you said, like you eat cheese, but have it as a dessert or have it after the meal. It's just some things that you can use to make this lifestyle doable, because I don't know many people that can just eat ribeyes for the rest of their life and that's it. You kind of need a little bit of like oomph or variation or some spice just to make this lifestyle stick. And that's why also Lisa is going to be part of our carnivore community. She's going to be a guest speaker in a few weeks. And the reason for that is that everything that Lisa is saying right now, it's going to help you guys if you're on carnivore and you don't know where to start. Lisa has so many tips to help you along your way. That's why I appreciate you so much, Lisa, because you've done all these small things. The tiny things is what matters to get you the result.
Absolutely. And I did try to cut out the cheese for lunch just to see how I would feel. And this is what I noticed. I didn't really feel any better, and I was still hungry. It's amazing what the 2 slices of cheese on the burgers adds, not only in the way it tastes, but just I was so much more satisfied. And that's important. That's important. And you want to look forward to what you eat. I look forward to all of my meals. I haven't given that up at all. So I decided after I tried it, it wasn't worth it for me. I didn't have a lot of benefits from it. I'm not trying to lose weight. I feel great. I just wanted to see, because so many people say, oh, I bet it was dairy. Not that I didn't try everything. And that's the thing, when you don't feel good, especially like here on YouTube, and there's like embarrassing things. No one wants to talk about IBS. They don't realize how many things I did try. I mean, from down to not chewing gum, because at that time I was going through Invisalign, and it was a habit of mine to eat my lunch, a salad, floss my teeth. I even had little toothbrushes, and then I would chew gum, and then I would put my Invisalign back in. And so I thought, oh, that's it. It's the gum. It's the gum. That's the gum. And every time, oh, it's the diet drinks. Oh, I was eating 2 pieces of Dove dark chocolate every night. Oh, it's the chocolate. I kept thinking I had found what it was that was keeping my stomach so upset. And you said something earlier about like IBS. A lot of people mistake IBS just for being where you have to go. But IBS is also constipation. And I think the carnivore diet is great for that too. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions out there about fiber. I think it's worth exploring. I think Dr. Berry had a great video where and I can't remember which one it was, but it was where he has a friend that empties colostomy bags or whatever, and the lady was saying there's never meat, undigested meat in that bag. It's usually all the other things. So I don't know. I think, meat's just gotten such a bad rap. So,
Okay, what is rule number 4?
okay. So, no organ meat. I do not eat nose to tail. And I will say because in the beginning I didn't know I was going to be carnivore. I was basically doing this as an elimination diet and just to get some relief and calm down my stomach. And then when I almost would have fear of thinking that I would have to stop eating this way, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a carnivore. So then what do? You start watching carnivore videos, and you come across Sally Norton, who buys a whole cow and eats nose to tail, or you come across Paul Saladino. There's so much more out there now than there was 3 years ago. There were a certain handful of people. I learned a lot from Dr. Gundry about why vegetables hurt my stomach. And the nose to tail thing bothered me. I did not want to have to feel like I had to eat liver or something like that, even though I feel like it is probably beneficial, but I just don't do it, and I'm still having great results. So I don't feel bad about that, but I don't look down upon it either. I feel like if you can eat it, then that's great.
I choose not to. Thanks. No thanks. I just stick with like the most basic things, Lisa, like beef, eggs, salmon. I'm doing less bacon because I just find that it's very addictive for me. I'm doing far less butter. I just stick with the same things and they just work. I don't get bored.
Yeah, I love it. I don't go out. I don't go out of it's so good every time. It's hard to even explain. It's my husband says it's like it's like your dog and the dog food. They love it every time. It doesn't have to change. They're always looking forward to it. They always eat it once you find something that they like. So that's how I am too. And if I wasn't thriving or I was still deficient in something, then maybe I would try. But I was able to get off my iron pills, and my iron was low. That was one thing the doctor just kept on and on about, and he acted like it was like, they were looking for what was wrong with me, and he just always acted like that was this magic bullet, and it really wasn't. I'm not saying I wasn't iron deficient, but it didn't keep me from being sleepy and everything else.
What is rule number 5 that you break on carnivore?
Okay, are we on 5 or 6? Oh no,
Number 5.
we're on 5. Okay,
Yeah.
ketchup. Ketchup. I do eat some ketchup. I don't eat it on my burger anymore. In the beginning I did, but then I realized I didn't need it. But I do still have a little bit with my steak. And I think it's because I just like it, for one thing. I did try the no sugar. I didn't care for that as much. I would rather have nothing than that. But I do get the natural one. I don't know if it matters. And I try not to eat a lot of it. But I think it just adds something to it, kind of like cheese would. And I think we talked about last time, I did try to replace the ketchup with butter, because I would see a lot of people I just have butter on my steak. And it did not make me feel good. It did taste good, but it made my stomach just a little bit upset after I ate dinner, like when I was going to bed, and I think I gained 2 pounds. But I was eating a lot of it because I had just watched, I think Steak and Butter Gal had a lady on that was talking about eating a stick of butter a day. So I thought, well, I'll try it because I'm still pretty open to try things. And I didn't. I said, ooh, I'm just going to go back to what I know works. And here I am, still eating ketchup. And I do realize it has a little bit of sugar in it, but I don't think it's enough. It hasn't been enough to bother me. And I've eaten it the whole time.
I think if it keeps you consistent, if that little thing keeps you consistent, I think that's a great thing. It's interesting that you said about the butter that you just put on 2 pounds from adding a little butter. Do you know how many people I've heard has put on so much weight from eating the one stick of butter or even just more butter?
Honestly, it was a great thing for me to do because I've never been hung up on calories, and I really do understand about the insulin spike and how you really want to avoid things that make your insulin go up and everything, and butter really doesn't do that. But it made me realize that maybe calories do count a little bit if you go just in excess like that. So that is it. It was good. I think all things like that are good. Anytime you can learn from it and you keep an open mind, I think it's good, even at this stage, to experiment a little bit like that.
Absolutely. And I do think that although you hear that calories don't matter, I think that they do matter a little bit. As you're saying, you can't just eat, because if they don't matter, you could eat like 10 sticks of butter and not put on weight. But I think most people would put on weight.
I know. I really did notice that. Now, I like if I go out of town, I don't. I if I have a chance to eat breakfast, I will. If I have a chance to eat lunch, I don't worry about calories. I probably eat more sometimes than I would at home because each time, a lot of times you're with friends or you're on a weird schedule. So if I see the opportunity to get something that is good for me to eat, I'll go ahead and eat it. But when I get home, I'm ready to get back on my schedule. I'm really ready. And I don't gain weight. Sometimes when I come home from vacations, I weigh less than I did when I left. And that is a wonderful thing.
I love that. The whole idea that you can do anything, go anywhere, it's so flexible. And you maintain your weight by just eating meat and the carnivore lifestyle. And that's the decision fatigue that you were talking about earlier. There's less thinking, right? Like you don't have to think about all this stuff.
Absolutely. I know I've got a couple of different events coming up. I'm not worried about losing weight before that diet. I'm not worried about what I'm going to eat in the airport. I'm not worried about what I'm going to eat at dinner. Whereas used to, I would have this little playbook in my head. Okay, a month before, I'm going to lose some weight. And then inevitably it wouldn't happen. So then I wouldn't feel good leaving. Then I would think, okay, I'm in the airport, and there's Cinnabon, this, that. And then you almost say, well, I'm on vacation. And then you say, well, I'm with these people, I want to eat whatever. And then you feel physically bad. I really did because I would have a really hard time when I got back to the hotel. I couldn't sleep. And then it just is a cycle. Whereas now I'm so confident that I'm going to feel good. I'm not going to have to make any tough decisions, whether I'm not going to eat dessert, all those things, and no guilt. So it's beautiful in many ways.
Love it. Well, are you ready for our game, Lisa?
Sure. We're halfway through. Okay.
We're halfway through and we're going to play a bit of a game. It's called Finish This Statement. So I have 10 statements here that I'm going to tell Lisa, and all she has to do is just finish this statement. She has not heard these. And this is going to help everybody on their carnivore journey because we're going to learn from Lisa. Okay, are you ready for the first one?
I am.
My go-to healthy snack when I'm craving something sweet is...
Healthy is the tricky word there. But I do think that my Diet Coke helps me with, that sweet taste. Even before this, I preferred the taste of Diet Coke over a regular drink just because I liked the sweet taste. But I have no other real cravings. And even when I'm around people eating sweets, it doesn't bother me at all. If I get a craving like that, and because I don't drink them all day because I don't want the caffeine too, um, a piece of cheese, maybe, something like that.
That's a great tip. I'd love to know from everybody watching, what is the thing that you love when you're on this carnivore lifestyle and you're craving something sweet or salty or even something crunchy? What do you go for? Share it in the comments.
Sharing something crunchy. I don't do this very often, but every once in a while I will eat pork rinds. And we make sure that we get I think it's Max, that is very, I mean, it's like pork rinds, oil, and salt. And I will eat those maybe, I don't know, once a month or whenever. Like for instance, if I've skipped lunch, if something's happened and I've skipped lunch and we've gone to the pool or something, maybe I'll eat a few pork rinds when I get back to hold me off till dinner. But I don't miss the crunchiness per se, but I can see that happening. And I would say be careful the pork rinds that you do get, because the first ones I got, I was like, oh my God, these are so good. I was eating them on the way home from the grocery store, and I was like, I can't believe it. When I looked at the ingredients, it was like maltodextrin, like all of these ingredients. So it was basically like eating a bag of Doritos. So do make sure you're eating the right ones. And I don't know if that's like the best thing to do all the time, but if you're in a crunch, then
Good one. Okay. Number two, finish this statement. The weirdest health trend I've heard of is.
I can't imagine going fasting for days, but I do see, the autophagy, and I do see the benefits in it. But that's something I've gone 24 hours before, but I can't imagine going for like 48 hours or so. But I can't really think of anything. I'm pretty open-minded. That's how I am basically with everything. I really don't, nothing other people do that doesn't affect me, but I expect for them to be equally less judgmental with me, and that doesn't always happen.
Yep, never, hardly ever happens. Okay. Number three, if I could only eat one food for the rest of my life, it would be.
I would have to say ribeyes. Ribeyes are my most, oh, okay, or eggs. I love eggs. I love boiled eggs. I love scrambled eggs. And I think eggs are just such a superfood. And they're always so calming. They're inexpensive. You don't have to get, like, sometimes I'll get bad ribeyes that are not that good. They're tough and they're just not that flavorful, but eggs are always good. So I would say eggs.
Love it. Okay, number four, my favorite health expert is.
Oh gosh. I guess Dr. Barry. He's my favorite because I feel like he's so relatable, down to earth. I feel like he's so genuine. I feel like he's very smart. He's not intimidating. Has a big heart, and I feel like he's just a good person.
I do as well. Okay, number five, the worst carnivore mistake I ever made was.
I'm having a tough one on that. Let's see.
I can tell you mine.
Okay, yeah, tell me yours. It might unlock something.
Mine was eating one stick of butter a day.
Yeah, that would be a good one, because that not only made me gain weight, and this was just, I probably did it a month or more, maybe 6 weeks, but just it made me feel bad. It made me feel kind of queasy on my stomach. But you're thinking, this is good for me. This is good for my brain. This is good for my hair. This is good for my skin. This is so good for me. I do still eat some butter. Of course, I cook my eggs in butter, and my mom cooks my steak in butter. So I do like it, and I don't think it's bad for you, but I think it has to be, in moderation. So that was a big mistake. And I've made mistakes. They're not really carnivore, but one thing in the beginning when I would try to eat like berries or some of the things that are a little bit more acceptable. I've never tried honey, but I'm not a honey eater anyway. But even berries would upset my stomach. Even blueberries and blackberries, the ones that are supposed to be the lowest glycemic. So I'm not tempted. Like, I know Dr. Saladino has gone over to eat berries and fruit and everything and honey. And I understand. For one thing, I think it's different for men and there's a big difference in a man his age and a woman my age as far as your insulin levels and how you store fat. And he's incredibly active. But I just was never able to incorporate berries.
I'm the same. If I do berries, it's like a whole cascade to want more things
They
sweet.
are sweet too. Ooh, they're like candy.
Absolutely. Okay, number 6. The funniest reaction I got from someone when they heard I just eat meat.
Oh my goodness, that's every day. Every day. The first thing they say is, "How do you get your vitamins?" Or they say, "Meat clogs your heart," or, all of the things, and it's exhausting. I don't want to argue with people, and I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist, so I always say, you'd be surprised how many vitamins are in meat. Certainly not a week goes by that I don't get a really, not bad reaction, but very surprised reaction. I will say it's gotten better. Especially at restaurants. I think they kind of get my order a little bit better. I mean, because for a long time, they would still bring the lettuce and all of the stuff, and you don't want to say I'm carnivore because it's just not a sexy word, and they just look at you like you're nuts. So I just usually say I can't eat vegetables, or or I'll even say I'm keto or something like that, so that it's more acceptable. But like I said, fast food places, they really look at you like you're nuts. But it's all gotten better. It has all gotten better, so I can't complain.
Number 7. The best health advice I ever got was
I would say it's all of the advice I've gotten from Dr. Berg. I think he gives great advice. I really love his videos. Dr. Barry. Like, even I love watching their videos on all of the benefits to walking. How it goes so much further than just the exercise. So I really like watching videos like that. I like watching Andrew Huberman and the other doctor that talks about nutrition a lot, and I'm going to blank at his name right now. Dr. Ciata or something like that.
Ciara.
Everyone watching will know who I'm talking about, but
Do we know a Dr. Ciara? I don't know Dr. Ciara, but if you do, drop it in the comments.
Dr. Atia.
Oh, Peter Attia, of course, the longevity expert, Peter Attia. He's wonderful. I'm trying to get him on this channel as well, but I think he's super busy.
I love listening to his interviews. Even if it's something I'm not interested in, I end up learning so much more about chronic disease, diabetes, cancer. So I am fascinated because until I started eating this way, people can tell you all the time, what you put in your body affects this, this, and this, but I never believed it until I started eating this way. So now I pay much more attention to, be the things that make you healthy. And like, even if they were to tell me that it increased, your longevity of your diet to eat half a banana, then I would consider it. You know what I mean? I consider what they say. I try things that they say, and I'm very interested. So there's that.
Love Dr. Attia. Okay, next one. Number 8 is if I were a carnivore food, I would be.
Ooh, I'd be a steak. I would be the juiciest ribeye ever.
That is no surprise. Okay, number 9. Okay, this is a funny one. If I had a superpower, the one thing I would change in my husband's diet is.
He eats pretty well. He's in very good shape, and he has, through my journey, has realized how when he eats carbs, how it makes him snore, it swells his hands, any aches and pains that he has, it makes that worse. But the one thing he does, he thinks that popcorn is healthy, which, I'm not going to argue, but I wouldn't eat it. And he eats like keto ice cream, keto bars, keto cookies, keto meals. But in the scheme of things, he's very healthy. So
Okay, the last one of the game is the most surprising benefit of carnivore that you've experienced.
I would say something that I never expected and could not believe, and it was life-changing, is the joint pain. Getting rid of the joint pain. Who would have ever thought? I had a really bad hip pain, and I had I had the MRI, and they basically told me it was just aging in your bones and everything. And it was very hard to sleep on either side, even to watch TV. Even if I was on my good side, it would still hurt. Getting out of the car was sometimes painful. I had to watch exactly how I got out of the car so it wouldn't trigger it. I was getting prednisone shots, and it just totally went away.
It's amazing that when you're in pain and the pain goes away from just eating meat, isn't it
I
incredible?
know. I can remember just getting up from my desk and almost having to limp a little bit until I straightened out, and it would kind of be like sciatic a little bit. Um, to this day, when I pull up at my parents', I can remember getting out of my car and like having to, it would take about 10 steps to kind of get everything just right so it didn't hurt in that hip. So that I could not believe it. I could not believe that it had gone and it wasn't going to come back. So that was definitely one of the most rewarding things.
Wonderful. Well, let's get into the last 5 rules. Lisa, what is rule number 6 that you break on a carnivore diet?
Okay, no supplements. No supplements at all. And this is a question I get a lot and I don't know if these would be considered supplements, but a lot of people really get hung up on when they initially start carnivore about the electrolytes and taking all these drinks and, what did you do about this? And honestly, I just sucked it up. I had a headache. I felt bad. I already had experience with keto diet and Atkins diet. Atkins is how I lost my baby weight, even after my daughter Brooke, who's 23. So I'd had experience with that, and I knew that when you cut sugar out of your diet, even fruit and vegetables that have sugar, and you cut the junk out of your diet, you have like a detox period, and it gives you a bad headache. It makes you really tired. It gives you like this flu feeling. But I knew it was going to happen, so I just got through it. You know it's going to go away. It doesn't take that long. It's basically about a week or two. And when you get through that, you never go back.
I totally agree. I was the same. I think it was the oxalate dumping for a few months. I had like really bad diarrhea and just tiredness, all these different things. But I didn't really know what it was. I didn't really think about it and I didn't really research about it. And it just kind of went away by itself. But I didn't overthink it in my head. I was still just functioning. If I was tired, I would have a sleep,
Exactly.
especially at the start, you know.
How long
That
has
was a
it
good
been? How long has it been?
3 years,
3 years.
3 years.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, with my carnivore journey, I wasn't strict at the start. I was going on and off because I was keto, then I was carnivore, right? So I was going on and off, doing the vegetables and then not eating vegetables, having dark chocolate and then not having dark chocolate. Oh, let me have some stevia and not have some stevia. And then it took me like, I would say 6 to 8 months to really say, okay, I just want to like try. And what I did was I slowly eliminated everything over that time. And then I was able to go. So it took me a long time to go, as you would say, like strict. Even now, I'm not super strict because I also break rules. Maybe not as many as you, but
I'm a rebel. Yeah.
I also break rules. Like I have Dijon mustard every day, pickles if I go out and have burger.
I think that's very common for people to start carnivore and kind of go on and off of it. But did you have to keep going through that detox phase? Because if you were, say you're carnivore and then you're going to do a little bit of keto, and say you eat grapes or a banana or apples, you're gonna have to reset again. Like you can't be carnivore except for on the weekends, because every time you're going to have to go through that detox and reset. So did that happen to you?
No, because I didn't binge. I'd have a little bit because I just missed the crunch of something, or my brain wasn't thinking, oh, I am carnivore and I am doing this. I just started eating more meat because I heard from Dr. Camberry, oh, this thing called the all meat diet, it can have all these like great side effects. But for me, it was more about my binge eating, sugar addiction, night eating syndrome, depression, anxiety. I had crippling, like for 20 years, social anxiety. I used to never want to go out. Then I realized that actually when I'm eating at carnivore, first of all, like you, I have so much more confidence. But then also I realized that if I ever eat any vegetables or something else, my gut gets so irritated now that I'm carnivore. But I never knew that before because I didn't have the IBS that you had.
That is so interesting. I think that's honestly, I think that's the best way to start carnivore is not to worry about being so strict in the beginning. Find your own way and maybe experiment with. I experimented with avocado. I remember taking all the seeds out of cucumber, just trying different things. And a lot of it was because I felt socially obligated to do that because people were so freaked out about just eating meat. I would eat, not sauerkraut, but cabbage, stewed cabbage for my mom. And then this was on Sunday, it would take me till about Wednesday or Thursday to feel better. But I was really trying to do that. And luckily, I have all of my notebooks from back at that time, and I can just see like different things I tried, and it's very interesting. But I think that's important to kind of find your own way.
Totally agree. Okay, let's get to rule number 7 that you break.
Okay, I don't count macros, fat, protein, etc. I don't keep up with that because a lot of people ask me, how do you know if you're getting enough protein, or how do you know about the healthy fat or anything? I've always heard that a ribeye is a pretty good, ratio, and I'm just doing so well on it that I just have never worried about that. But I've never been I don't have food scales. I've never been one to do anything like that. Worst thing I've ever done is, on Atkins, count carbs, or way back when, I remember when fat grams were the thing and people were doing low fat and Snackwell cookies, and you would count your fat grams. That's the only kind of counting I've ever done. So
I think the great thing about carnivore is that there's no counting. It's very, very easy. What is rule number 8?
fast food and restaurants, which a lot of people say, the quality of the meat isn't good. I'm not trying to say it's the best, but I do think, I have eaten McDonald's or Wendy's, and I think if you look it up, it is all beef. It's not soy, and it's just, especially for me working from home, it gives me just like a little outing, just something to do. It makes it easy when I travel, and it just gives me a little bit more balance. I could, go downstairs and cook eggs or something, but I feel like, it just gives me a little bit something different. And then I know when you go to restaurants, you don't know what you don't know the quality of meat. You don't know what spices, what they've cooked it in, the seed oils and all of these different things. So I wouldn't do it every night, but if you're, if you want to have dinner with a friend or you're on vacation, just do your best.
I agree. I love that one. I eat McDonald's. How often do I eat McDonald's? It's probably once a month, not even that. But it's something that I look forward to. Actually, after our interview, I had McDonald's and I had a Coke Zero. I didn't feel good because I just was feeling very like, I want to have a Coke Zero. And then I have my burger patty. And then I had the mustard. I thought, no, Coke Zero is not good for me.
You're just not used to it. Your body's not used to probably the carbonation and everything.
But also because I have coffee in the morning. And so I had the Coke Zero in the afternoon and I couldn't sleep because it's too much caffeine, I think. Okay, rule number 9.
Okay, I do use some seasoning. We use the McCormick. There's like a particular seasoning that we use. And a lot of people will say only salt, like not even any pepper. So I do use seasoning, but I have noticed some seasonings can upset my stomach. And I don't use ones that are heavy in, parsley and, different things like that. Even if I use one with onion, it upset my stomach. So I just stick to the same one that I always use, or salt and pepper. Like my mom, when she cooks my steaks, she uses butter, salt, and pepper.
And the final rule, rule number 10, what is that one, Miss Rule Breaker?
I know, so bad. I don't always follow intermittent fasting. And I think a lot of people, I know Dr. Berg is one of my main intermittent fasting people that I always, enjoy learning from. I do think it helps in so many ways, and I would say most every day I follow that. I never eat after dinner, and that's one of the best things. I eat at 5:30 and I don't think about food again. I don't have ice cream, I don't have chocolate, nothing. I'm so settled so that by the time I go to bed, I feel just so ready to go to sleep. And then I don't eat anything in the mornings. If I was hungry enough, I would. Maybe I'd get some, maybe we'd cook some eggs, like maybe once a month or something. Or maybe I'd have some ham and cheese or just one slice of cheese if I was really hungry. But typically what I do is wait until lunch and I go get my lunch. I typically work in the morning, so I'm busy. That's a big tip too, is keep yourself busy to be successful on this. So, and then when I go out of town or when I'm with others, I eat when they eat. So I don't say, oh, I don't, if everybody's going to breakfast, I don't say, oh, I don't eat until 12. So I just try to just do the best I can, most of the time. I do think that there's probably a lot of benefit to it. I know even I grew up with lots of dogs and cats and all that stuff. I do, even when an animal is sick and got an upset stomach or doesn't feel well, you don't feed them. You give their body a chance to rest and just calm down. So, and I know about all the autophagy and all of that stuff, and I do believe that. So that's one. And then I even have a bonus if you want
Yes, tell us the bonus.
it. The bonus is processed meats. I know a lot of people say you shouldn't eat processed meats. I eat bacon, sometimes sausage, or like my mom will get the good ones like from Whole Foods or something that are made from quality meats, but like kielbasa or different type of sausages. And if I eat too much, it might upset my stomach a little bit just for a day or two. But typically what I do is I'll just have a little bit because I always feel like I eat seafood too. I do eat shrimp. I always feel like each food might have a little bit of a different nutrients or something, and it also gives you a little bit of a different taste. Some nights I'll eat one ribeye and one fillet just to have the two different tastes, because that's another thing with carnivore. Your taste buds are so good and so heightened. You can taste every little thing that you could never taste before. So even the difference in a ribeye and a fillet are so different. And I think that's a lot people get hung up on. I can't eat one thing, or I can't just eat that for the rest of my life. But really, when you get to this point, everything tastes so good. Like eggs, oh my gosh, they taste like dessert sometimes. Cheese, everything tastes so good. It's so magnified that you're a lot more satisfied than you would believe. So I do eat some processed meats.
Well, I love that bonus tip. Thank you so much. And as you can see, Lisa has got such great results, but what she's doing is making this lifestyle suitable and realistic for her. And it's keeping you consistent to be able to do this for as long as you want, for as long as you need. And I think that's what people need, is that realistic advice. And if you want to see Lisa, you can join our community. She's going to be a guest speaker and she's going to help answer your questions, and you can meet her live. But Lisa, thank you so much for coming back on my channel. I always love you. I'm going to link your wonderful YouTube channel in the description of this video, Lisa's Instagram as well, because she posts everything about fashion and Zara clothing hauls and
Yes,
makeup and all these.
that's fun.
I love it. Plus carnivore stuff as well. So you have to watch every one of her carnivore videos. But Lisa, thank you so much again for coming back, and I'm sure we're going to see you very soon.
Thank you so much. I can't wait.
Thanks for watching. You might like this video next with Lisa Duncan about the 10 biggest carnivore mistakes that you might be making on a carnivore lifestyle, as well as this video, which is talking about the 10 untold rules for weight loss on carnivore. I'll see you guys next week.